that time of week once more for Muji and Dan to give you the comic store. It's time to open up those bags and boards, fans. Welcome to Get Your Pulls.
Welcome to Get Your Pulls, number 107. It's the HeroesCon report. It's Muji.
It's Dan.
It's Jay.
We are Toddless. How could we be so Toddless? Well, he had other commitments this week.
We're grown ups with jobs and y'all have kids. That's
He actually supports his family.
That bastard.
I know.
Sorry, son of a bitch, supporting his family and being a good man.
I know.
That's un-American now.
I don't have a kid, but if I did, I would definitely buy comics and he'd be hungry. I'm a catch.
But Todd will be returning on episode 108 as we dive into all of the great Comic-Con news that came out. We're actually going to hold off on that this week so we can share it with the full crew. But we are no shortage of things to talk about, are we, Muji?
No, we got a ton of stuff. We got a billion pulls. We got HeroesCon. We got some news. Let's start out with some little pre-Comic-Con news, a few things that came out. Everybody's announcing a billion books. Image Expo, which happened a few days before Comic-Con, they announced a few books. The highlights, for me at least, the one I'm the most pumped up about is Jason Aaron with The Goddamned. That seems awesome. And he's teaming back up with, what is the name? R.M. Guerrera? Is that
Yes.
the artist from
Scout.
So the teams get back together, and the basic premise is like, it's the Bible without like a lot of like the Christian stuff. So it seems pretty awesome. Yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm completely on board for that. There were some other cool things. Brian K. Vaughan is going to, he made a deal with Robert Kirkman. He said, called him on his bluff, like Kirkman's been bugging him. If you didn't know, Brian K. Vaughan has a website called the Panel Syndicate where he releases a digital comic called The Private Eye on there that's you can only get digitally. And he's talked about forever how he only wants to do digital. Part of it is they do a pay what you want. So for each issue, you can pay anywhere from, I think, like a couple of cents all the way up to whatever you feels, fair for the thing. And apparently it's done really well for them because, they get to keep all the money. But then I can't remember the guy that does the art on it, but they, yeah, I know. I'm a bastard. But so they, Kirkman's been wanting to print it and sell it for Image. And he called Brian K. Vaughan on his bluff. He's like, what would it take for me to get to print this? And he's like, you got to let me wire out The Walking Dead. And he's like, okay, done. So he's going to get to release a Walking Dead story on his website, Panel Syndicate, which I'm sure will get printed, but at first will be available exclusively on there. So that's pretty badass.
Oh, that's real badass. Like, I saw the news initially, and I was so pumped thinking that it was just going to be a regular arc of Walking Dead that was coming out. But no, it's digital only. And that's cool. I mean, more power to him for trying to create a new business model and getting a huge score like The Walking Dead for his personal website. That's fucking amazing. I mean, but not that BKB is some small potatoes. I mean, we're talking about the guy who wrote Y: The Last Man. We're talking about the guy who writes Saga, who's one of the best comics ever made and one of the hottest comics going right now.
Yeah.
And
Marcos Martin, BT Dub, looked him up. Respect the artist on the Private Eye.
Yes, we are in a movement. And it's not like, look, I a lot of times forget to mention the artist, and it's not out of trying to slight the artist. I think with a writer's mind, because that's the only capacity that I've ever done anything close to what comics are in terms of like script and television and other things, But
and we're just getting old, and you can only remember so many names.
And like if Todd is here, Todd always knows who the artist is because Todd is an artist. So Todd thinks in that mindset. Yeah. So it's never an intention to slight those guys. It's legitimately not remembering.
Yeah. You ever wonder if Todd's like on just like famous books, like how there are definitely some really famous books that like the most famous ones. I mean, you know the artist and the writer, but there are some like really good stories that I have to think who like drew them. I wonder if he's like that for like any like shit. I wonder if he's like, that a Batman by Capullo. Who's writing that? Who's the writer of that? I wonder if there's anything like that. He thinks like that.
Yeah,
I can guarantee it.
Yeah. But yeah, they had a bunch of announcements you can check. With Image stuff now, it's like now it was formerly, and maybe this is just because of how many of our favorite writers already have Image books. But there for a minute, it was like they were announcing 20 comics, and I wanted 18 of them because it was like, oh, it's Remender and Jason Aaron and all this stuff. And now they really, I don't want to say, and maybe some of these books are really good, but they've really watered down the excitement based on the fact that it seems that if you've had a comic published, like you get to do an Image book now. And so many of them were so similar. Like, I don't know how many, like, The World Ended, So We're All in Space books have come out in the past 6 months. That's the thing. So, the Image Expo is still exciting for me, but not as much as it was. It was like a must-see. Like, I'm watching it in real time through Twitter thing, and now I'm just like, I'll check it out, because I know that a lot of these books, like, I'm going to have no idea who these people are.
Yeah, right on. I think, like the Image is the hot shit right now. They just got to kind of manage their growth because if you look at the rising profit margins and the numbers recently, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I did look at
comics are way up.
A report. Comics are way up.
I think 14% overall from last year.
And Image are like, and not necessarily just them, but they have the biggest piece of that pie. But non-Marvel DC books are up like 30% this year. Like something stupid come in, and they're like still their piece of the pie compared to what Marvel and DC has.
Yeah.
Still relatively minimal, but they're up a giant portion of that.
Yeah.
So just in the last year, those creator-owned comics have really taken a bigger piece out of the Marvel and DC pie. So you got to think that that's the hot shit. They just got to manage that growth. It seems like they're getting big enough, but I do fear if they get too big, we might get a sacrifice in quality, and we certainly don't want that because that's why they're growing at that rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a few other things. DC announced a few new books. A couple of the big ones we'll save because they were Comic-Con announcements, but they announced some prequel series a few days before Comic-Con, or not really prequel series, but introductory series. So basically, they're taking a bunch of characters who don't currently have books at DC. Swamp Thing is one. Firestorm. There's quite a few. There's like 6 or 8 of them, I think. And on all of those, they're doing just mini-series. And most of them are by the people who either created them or had big runs at the beginning. Like Lin Wein is doing Swamp Thing. Jerry Conway is doing Firestorm. Lin Wein's actually doing a couple of them, I think. But there's like 6 or 8 of those that they're doing to reintroduce some of the characters in the DC universe. So I thought that was a cool thing, to get something out there. Oh, there's not a Swamp Thing book or Animal Man. Like, I feel like those are like the Pass the Torch books. Like, in comics, like, if somebody comes on and writes a badass Swamp Thing or a badass Animal Man, you kind of know that, like, they're up next, because it's like Alan Moore and Grant Morrison started that. I mean, Snyder and Lemire, kind of like the DC's, the latest 2 guys. Charles Soule took over on Swamp Thing. Like, all this, Brian K. Vaughan was on Swamp Thing earlier. Mark Millar was on there earlier. That seems like those are books that, like I said, are kind of like this is the next guy book. And it's weird that they don't have ongoings right now.
It seems that DC has kind of been on a nostalgia kick as of late. I mean, we know why they got a bunch of the former Golden Age, not literal Golden Age, but Golden Era writers,
Yeah.
To come back for the Convergence stuff was because they were moving to the West Coast. Mm-hmm. But since that move, we've seen a lot of announcements, and like, I love Lin Wein, so I'm not complaining, but of a lot of the more elder statesmen, writers, and artists coming back to DC, and it looks like less of a focus on some of the hot up-and-coming writers and artists.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. It's really weird to think that if you look at, like, the two, DC and Marvel, the way that they've moved, it's like the DC guys, and let's hope Snyder never leaves Batman, before we die, unless it's so we can write it, but it's like all the guys who kind of made their thing, like in the New 52, it's like Lemire, Charles Soule, those guys have moved over to Marvel, and then the Marvel guys are pretty much all just doing Image books. Like, remember they had their big announcement, it was like a couple years ago, where they had the, what do they call them? The Marvel
Architects.
The Architects. And Jason Aaron and Bendis are the only ones left. The other ones were like Fraction.
Is Hickman gone now too?
Hickman currently has the rest of Secret Wars coming out, but he has no new books announced, and all different Marvel. And apparently that's the rumor on him too, is he's just going to take some time away to just do his own books for a little while. Because I think he's drawing. I think they said, Comic-Con spoiler, I think he announced he's got something in the works that he's going to write and draw because he was an artist when he first got into it. So, but Hickman, Remender, Fraction, like they're completely gone from Marvel. Kelly Sue just left; she's gone from Marvel right now. I mean, she wasn't well, they're architects, but Brubaker's gone. So really, like the really big popular Marvel people are gone, and Lemire and Soule have kind of like taken their spots over there. Jerry Dugan has kind of risen up in Marvel and has a bunch of the good books. I guess Colin Bunn got a Lifetime Achievement Award and gets to do Uncanny X-Men. They're like, you've been here long enough. You get to do Uncanny X-Men.
Why is Colin Bunn taking over all my books?
Colin Bunn is like the Charles Soule that... Colin Bunn does some good work, but he's just not my favorite. He's like the Charles Soule that, like, you don't want to buy, like, all of his books. At least I don't.
I think that maybe he did a Punisher miniseries that I didn't hate. Maybe it was Deadpool. But other than that, I like his Magneto run. I've been reading that on Marvel Unlimited.
I heard his creator-owned book, the Sixth Gun, is really good. And then apparently, his Sinestro book people liked.
Okay.
But yeah.
But that's really all I've liked by him. So I'm really... And coming up, he started writing the Aquaman. He just took over Aquaman. And I have the first issue of that, and we'll talk about that here a little bit later. But yeah, anyway, strange things with the writers' circle kind of going in a new direction, it seems, in comics overall. Like, it seems the more popular writers and artists are going to Image, the up-and-comers are kind of going to Marvel, and DC is kind of focusing on the classic stuff, like Frank Miller's coming back. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really is. Like,
yeah, that was a pre-Comic-Con. I guess they gave more details at Comic-Con, but that was certainly a pre-Comic-Con thing. But we can save that for next week because they gave a lot of details on what's going to happen in that story at Comic-Con. So
cool.
We'll move on to our HeroesCon coverage, the con that we actually attend. So we get the first-hand knowledge. Second year that we've gone to HeroesCon. Spent more time this year. We got Charlotte not before, so we actually got to see the Heroes... hard to find comic store, which was an impressive comic store. It was big, had lots of statues. That's one of the things that around here, a lot of the comic stores, and I guess really you have as much as you can based on, what people are buying. I guess if people are buying tons of statues around here, they would have them in the store. But they obviously have sell more comics there, so they're able to support kind of having more merch, some more high dollar stuff. So I actually got I didn't get from there, but I saw they had all those there, and it inspired me. HeroesCon got an awesome David Finch Art of War Wonder Woman statue that I've been wanting forever. Found that. But their shop was cool. Had a bunch of books in there.
Yeah, one thing that was cool about the shop was the original artwork. For each year at HeroesCon, they kind of theme it around a certain character or book by a particular artist or a run. And they have them come in and do a recreation of the artwork based on HeroesCon. Like Love and Rockets has been featured, even more popular Marvel and DC stuff has been featured. Yeah. They had all of the original artwork from that on the walls and lots of cool autograph stuff from the various artists and stuff that have come in there. So it's a very cool shop. Very friendly too. The guys were super nice.
They were very nice, yeah, even though they were having to work the shop and didn't get to be part of the con. That probably wasn't fun for them. Maybe they got to switch it up and go at least one day, but yeah, that shop was cool. Actually picked up some DC number ones that are in here that they ran out of at the local comic shop that I gave test runs on. So that was fun. And the con itself was really fun. I had a minor freak out when we first got there because last year we drove up. We got there right when it opened last year, and we were in line for maybe 10 minutes. Like we were inside the building. We walked up, got our tickets. I mean, the line moved fast. We were in line for about 45 minutes this year, but it really felt like we might be in line for 2 hours. It was obviously more popular. We got there a little bit later, but the line stretched around 2 full buildings. It looked ridiculous. There were hundreds of people, if not 1,000 people in line in front of us in that line. But they did an awesome job of moving it really fast. Because for the amount of people there, it wasn't, But then we got inside, definitely busier than last year, but it wasn't so busy that it was uncomfortable. There was still plenty of room to walk around. There was never that Dragon Con-esque elbow to elbow traffic, where you're having to inch along.
Where you can't even stop and fucking look at anything. Yeah. Because, there's so many people, it's just a fucking wave of people moving, and it's constantly moving, and if you stop, you're just going to get fucking ran over. So you can't stop and shop. You can, but it's very difficult, and every time it almost causes a fucking altercation with somebody.
Yeah.
So HeroesCon much better for that.
Yeah, and the traffic might have been because the last second they announced Stan Lee, like a week or two before that they had gotten Stan Lee. And even though it costs a ton of money just to get a picture taken with Stan Lee, that wasn't holding people out because there were a huge line of people paying to get Stan Lee's autograph or get pictures with him.
And I was shocked they had him in the open air.
Yeah, like you could
could
see him.
I figured he'd be in like a Pope mobile or something.
They usually do that at Dragon Con.
Yeah,
you can't get anywhere near
there
him.
was a good
enough.
enough. Yeah, there was a good enough line of sight that like Deadshot could have killed him, and that usually doesn't happen. He's usually in a locked vault somewhere.
There's
For both the privacy and probably the temperature too. We won't stand getting too hot. He's old. But there were more people. But it was really awesome. Just like always, all the comic people we've met at HeroesCon are super friendly, and the same thing this year, man. We met Jason Aaron, got him to sign our Southern Bastards.
yes.
Got a little free swag from him. We were the last people in line, and I had to hold up a little handmade piece of cardboard that said "End of the line," which most people walked up and they've gone to cons, I guess. So you just go, "Sorry, I'm into the line." They go, "Oh, when he's coming back," and you tell them, and they walk off. There were a couple that were just like, they were kind of assholes and eventually gave up, but it was like, I'm going to stand here. I'm going to stand here. But he was nice, gave me a cool little print that him and Latour signed as payment for watching the line there, so that was fun. And he was very nice, of course.
Yeah, he remembered coming on the show, Midnight Black Mass before, and we talked about that, and he said he wanted to come back on and just talk about Disney. So I was like, yeah, awesome, anytime.
Yeah, so he was awesome. We saw Latour again, who's a fixture there. I guess with him living really close, he's going to be there all the time. A couple of people. I saw Hickman. He had a giant line, so I didn't feel like standing in it, but I saw him.
I bumblefucked on Hickman, and I meant to bring my Fantastic Four #1 hardcover of the trade. It's just like, that's it may be my all-time favorite run of Fantastic Four is Hickman's run. It's so fucking good. And I totally was going to get that signed, and I totally fucking forgot he was going to be there at the last second. And
You're not going to get anything signed in the future now. You just forgot about me.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, I told it. I fucking spilled the beans on the air now, so it's part of public record.
No, let's see. Met Babs Tarr, who draws Batgirl. Actually got really lucky. She had a giant line, but we caught her coming back from lunch, so we were first in line, and then before she could even autograph my books, there were like 20 people behind, so glad that people are digging the new stuff. Did the Fraction Zdarsky run again. Also, some of the nicest people. Zdarsky was super nice. Again, got a flash sketch from him, and got actually my girlfriend. She loves sex criminals. That's like one of the few comics I got her to read she really liked, and let him know, like, this is the one, like, because she said comics are dumb. She wouldn't read any of them, and I was like, well, I got one that's like a lot. I was like, there's a lot of sex in it, sex stuff, and she's like, well, I'll try it, and she loved it. So she stood in line there with me and met him, and he wrote in hers, wrote like a little funny thing in hers for like, thanks for letting me be your first. And her Six Criminals hardcover, and then he talked like forever there. I mean, he's super nice. One of the nicest dudes there is.
Zdarsky's the man. I was actually waiting in the Kelly Sue line. We were trying to economize time. So Muji got my item signed by Fraction and Zdarsky. Since I got a lot of time with him last year.
Yeah.
We had Zdarsky do sketches for us last year, and they spent a lot of time just bullshitting and talking with us both. So I was like, I didn't get to meet Kelly Sue. So I got my Howard the Duck #1, thanks to Muji, signed by Zdarsky. And I know you can't see it there at home, but on the cover, there's a Spider-Man is looking in Howard the Duck's window, and Zdarsky made a speech bubble that says, Dan! So Spider-Man is yelling at me, and it says, love Chip. But got to meet Kelly Sue DeConnick. She was amazing. I let my wife read Bitch Planet, which I knew she was going to like that, and she dug it. And so we both met Kelly Sue and talked to her for quite a bit. She signed my Bitch Planet #1. And it was just hilarious and sweet and funny, and like most of the comics professionals we've met, just great,
I know, man, and it's so different, like with different things. Because in wrestling, it's like it really holds true. Like, be careful. Like, you really don't want to meet your heroes. Be careful meeting your heroes because you can find out they kind of suck. And with so much wrestling, I mean, there's been a lot of them that we've met that have not been cool. But everybody so far we've met in comics have been super cool, super nice. So. makes you happy for their success. It sucks when someone's rich and they're an asshole.
Oh, speaking of crediting the artists at HeroesCon,
Yeah.
I met my fucking favorite artist in all of comics, Francis Manapul. And he signed my Flash #1 from the New 52. It was one of my favorite Flash covers of all time.
It's great.
Yeah.
I just love his fucking art. Got to just tell him how, and he was like genuinely appreciative of what you told him. Like, I was like, man, I said, you're the only artist I've ever seen that can draw a static image and it still feels like it's moving. Like with the Flash, he always did that. Like just you see the motion that he creates. Yeah, and it's just so unique. And he was just like so genuinely, thank you, man. That's and he wasn't just like, oh, thanks.
I'm gonna do a mini Comic-Con spoiler because I had some up and down there. We met him and it was awesome. And then like 2 days later, they announced that he's leaving Detective, and I was like, damn it. And then finally at Comic-Con, they announced the reason he's leaving. He's doing 2 issues worth of Justice League fill-in story. So that's great. Jeff Johns just handpicks him. He goes, oh, Fabok, yeah, you're doing it. Jim Lee, you're doing it. Like, he just gets to pick. He's like, who's doing good work? I'm shocked Capullo hasn't been pulled for some Justice League work. And then he's also because he's starting to write a bunch of books, too. He's going to be writing and drawing an Aquaman Earth 1 book. So that sounds pretty badass. So he's going on to bigger and better things. So that rules. So yeah, he was nice. I'm trying to think. I mean, we met some more people than that, but everybody was just saw James Tynion again this year.
He's always super cool.
Yeah.
Talk to the guy who does the fucking hip hop family tree.
Yeah, he just won an Eisner.
Yeah. He was just there hanging out. There wasn't even nobody at his table. He gave us a free copy. Like I felt bad. I wanted to talk to him more, but we were in a hurry actually to go get in other lines. So I didn't have anything for him to sign, but I told him how awesome I thought his comic was, that I got to read just the one. And he was like, "Here, take a free one." Like,
yeah, that's awesome. But HeroesCon, once again, great success. Yeah, HeroesCon swag, got that statue, and then got this Darcy sketch, and then I got you can see on my Facebook. Also, I think Dan put it on his Facebook. You put it on the Getchyapulls Facebook. My sweet sketch, Randall Trang, independent artist. You can check him out. I think he has a Tumblr and a website, but Randall Trang is his name.
He's everywhere. He was at Comic-Con.
Yeah, he's at Comic-Con. He's all over the place, but he likes wrestling. So last year I got to do a Hulk Hogan sketch, and this year I got creative. Me and Dan kind of tag team an idea. I was like, I want to do something. I was like, with Brock Lesnar. I was like, what about Brock Lesnar and Thanos? I was like, how awesome would that be? And then, and then Dan was like, why don't you do Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet in his hand, or Brock Lesnar with the Infinity Gauntlet in his hand? I was like, yeah. And then I added to it. I was like, oh God, we'll have Thanos like killed over. And so he did. He got the Brock Lesnar, which if you're a fan of wrestling, and if you listen to this podcast, you probably are. Then we've got Brock Lesnar holding the Infinity Gauntlet. He's got it on his hand, and he's got Suplex Galaxy bitches in the bubble. And,
I posted that on Twitter, so you can follow me on Twitter at Dragons Rejects, or it's on the Potty Humor Facebook page where we post I post lots of funny comic things, just bullshit during the week to be entertaining, and also everything about the shows. And it's got a bunch of pictures of us in action at HeroesCon, Muji eating the Elvis burger, all kinds of wonderful things that happened that weekend. Us playing around with the Star Wars dioramas that they had there that you could take your pictures at. And of course, the aforementioned Brock Lesnar Suplex Galaxy bitch picture by Randall Trang.
Randall Trang said he got such a positive reaction on that. He was saying on Twitter that he was going to make it into a print. So give me that cash. Give me that little piece, Trang. But,
peace, Trang.
Piece of my idea, Trang. Writer's rights. But anyways, awesome experience. We'll definitely go back again next year. HeroesCon most wanted list. It would be great if Snyder would come to HeroesCon. Snyder and Remender, the top two that
Snyder,
we haven't seen
Capullo, Remender. Remender was supposed to be there last year and it canceled.
Yeah.
Frank Miller would be a huge pull. Like, I mean, they would shell. If they're going to shell out the money for Stan Lee, they got the money for Frank Miller.
Oh, yeah. There's some all-timers that you would like.
Yeah. I mean, they had like Kevin Eastman there.
Yeah, Kevin Eastman was. They usually get one or two really big people like that have been in comics forever. I think that was last year. It was Kevin Eastman, and then Mark Waid was a big get for him. I guess Eastman was kind of the star. I think he was like the number one guy at the con.
This year, obviously, it was Stan Lee, but also, Hickman's a pretty big name right now.
Yeah.
Do you think it was the crowds? You said the crowds were a lot bigger this year. Is it You think it's just because they added Stan Lee at the last minute, or is it just
Both.
Combination of
publication,
just
or-
cons. Like, this has been around forever, but I mean, I don't know if maybe because of Twitter and stuff, but word's just getting out about it's not PAX. I think people are like, oh, it's not PAX, I'll come there. And with comics themselves just getting more popular, I think it is a big sell for people that they don't do celebrities and stuff. It's just comic book writers and artists. Like, there's not Walking Dead Zombie number 17 doesn't have a booth there. Like, it's somebody who's written or drawn something that you like.
Yeah, it's all for the hardcore comic fan. They did have a CW booth, which I thought was pretty cool. They had some CW Plinko going on. You could go play for free, and if you won, you could pick merchandise. And Annie, my wife, got an iZombie shirt playing CW Plinko, so that was pretty fun. And they were just there promoting their big shows. So they had some cool life-size cardboard cutouts of the Flash and Arrow.
Well, I mean, that kind of makes sense why they would be there. It's
Promoting,
so many good
And they had
shows.
even a cooler setup this year than last year. They have a bunch of props. Last year they had, I think, the Mystery Mobile, a couple of things, but this year they had a bunch of Star Wars dioramas that you could stand in and get your pictures taken with. Of course, everyone shot Greedo first.
Oh, I saw those pics. Yeah, I saw those.
And they had some other stuff there too, so it was pretty badass.
Yes, the garbage mashers on the detention level were there.
Yeah.
There was there was an interior either Star Destroyer or Death Star background, interior inside the ship.
Yeah.
But it was mainly it was pretty bland. But they had a Vader and 2 stormtroopers there with an Imperial guard taking pictures with people, and when I got over there, they were gone. So I took no pictures in front of the bland wall of the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, but it was badass. But I guess that's it for the HeroesCon report. We'll move on to some books. We got a shit ton. I got a billion books that I would talk about if we had all the time in the world. But we'll move on to some highlights that I had. So far, I'm digging. We talked about this. We'll see what people's picks of the weeks are. But I'm in depth. But I'm digging so far. Batman 41 and 42. Bat Gordon has been really cool.
I've not read 42 yet. Is it carrying on pretty well, I take it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's just, Jim's definitely... They released the solicitations for 45 or 46, and he's still Batman. So, I mean, in 42, you see Bruce Wayne. So, he's out there alive, and he's doing stuff. So, that's, it didn't take him long to show you him. But Gordon's Batman. He's in the suit. They do a really great play on it because he thinks it's as ridiculous as everyone would think that he's Batman. He's also got a really cool, just regular Batman suit that he wears when he's not in the armor as well. That's really awesome. So I've liked it so far. Airboy has been really good. I've liked it. It's crazy. It's really kind of like a meta deal where James Robinson wrote it and Greg Hinkle's the artist. And the gimmick in it is it's kind of, it's based off just kind of his real life, but then obviously not, because the gimmick is that, and this is based on a true story, that James Robinson is kind of famous for writing Golden Age, type superhero stories. He's the guy they go to for that. And so he's recently left DC and Marvel in the past few months, where he stopped doing stuff. He actually went back to Marvel Funny recently and was doing that Golden Age. He was doing the Defenders. But not the Defenders, the Invaders. He was doing Invaders, so right up his alley. But he'd been doing Earth 2 before that and quit. But in the book, it's he's getting a call from Eric Stevenson. Airboy, who is an old World War II character that was famous, is in the public domain. So it's Eric Stevenson calling him and said, hey, we want somebody to do the Airboy book. Anybody can do it. And he's like, fuck you. Why does everybody call me to do Golden Age characters? I don't want to do that. That's, everybody puts me in that. He's like, just try to think of something. And so he does. And then him and Greg Hinkle go and do all sorts of drugs and go out on a crazy bender. And then Airboy, the real Airboy, shows up at the end of it. That's kind of the thing. But it's really just complete debauchery, crazy stuff happening. Some really funny stuff. It's legit shoots on working for DC and Marvel, where he's like, DC pays awesome, but he's like, I fucking hate every comic I do. The editorials interfere with everything I try to do. It's driving me insane. And so it's really good. I really like it. The second issue got a little bit of controversy that we won't get into, but it's which he came and apologized for, Robinson did, but really liked it so far. Next, I'm going to move on to a little BKV action. I did check out We Stand On Guard #1. It's a mini-series from Brian K. Vaughan.
Heard really good things about it.
Steve Scarosi, who does some comics, but I guess he also is like he's been doing like a bunch of storyboards for movies. He just got back into comics and just Brian K. Vaughan. The gimmick on this is basically that something happens in Canada and the US are like, they're having a bit of a standoff, and something happens, which it doesn't get into all of it in the first issue, but the people in Canada are like, what if the United States attacked us? Like, they wouldn't do it. Well, they do. The U.S. takes over Canada, and then it goes to being like 20 years later, and and there's these Canadian resistance forces up in Canada. So it's really awesome so far. More Brian K. Vaughan, almost pick of the week because it's been nuts. You got to read Saga we got number 30, which is crazy. There's 30 issues of Saga already. 30 and 29. Yeah, some people die, some other shit happens. It's really crazy issues of Saga, so definitely check that out. Runner-up for pick of the week is going to be Justice League number 42. I know everybody's read 41. It was badass. 42 takes over right where 41 left off. We get a couple more players added in here. You can see where Wonder Woman is going to be like the focal point of the story, kind of. She's awesome. It's great. And the final panel of it is one of the best things. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. Wonder Woman throws her lasso around Metron. What's his name? Metron? And trying to get him to tell her, and he's like, I don't have the answers. The chair has the answers. So she pulls Metron off the chair, and Batman sets on the motherfucker, and all of a sudden Batman, the final panel is Batman saying, I'm a god now, and he has all the knowledge in the universe at his disposal all at once there. And a little tease, and I guarantee you they're not going to actually give you a name, but he's getting information from it, and he's like, who killed my parents? He's like, oh, Joe Chill, that's right. And he's like, who's the Joker? And the chair tells him who the Joker is, and he's like, no, it can't be. And then they keep going, which I'm guessing he's probably going to lose all these memories once it's over. They're never going to give you a name. But it's a really awesome moment. You can tell when the shit finally goes down the dark side, it's going to be completely badass.
Yeah, dude. That Justice League. Jeff Johns has just killed that the entire time.
Yeah, Jason Fabok on the art is tremendous.
Yeah.
He's really, really, really good. So, we'll move. My pick of the week is actually Nailbiter, number 14. It is awesome. It's a combination of flashbacks to when the Nailbiter himself was in high school. He's going to prom there. That's a great thing where he first kind of gets his nail fetish. And then it's really if you've been reading Nailbiters, issue you've been waiting on, where they finally come face to face with the big, I can't remember the dude's name, the Butcher, the guy that's wearing the crazy bull helmet that's been slicing people up. Well, all of our protagonists run into him in a cave, and they're standing off face to face at the end, and you get quite a few clues. It's what's going on with why all the people in town are murderers in Buckaroo. So it's really awesome.
Fucking love Nailbiter. It's so sick.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it was the last issue or the issue before I tweeted Josh Williamson and told him he was a sick fuck. And his response was, thank you very much. I meant it in the best way possible, but it's just amazing. Looks so fucking good. You love horror.
Yeah.
God does, there's nothing better in the horror genre than horror comics right now.
No, it's where almost all the good stuff is. It's been a long time since I've seen a horror movie. Well, a few months since I've seen anything I like, and finally I broke down and watched, there's a new one out that I want to see, but I finally broke down and watched Digging Up the Marrow. Definitely recommend. It was really awesome.
Awesome. That's on my there's a bunch of horror movies on my get-to list, but a bunch of them are on Netflix, too. I've heard The Babadook is good. I've heard there's some other ones that are on there.
There's a new one. I can't remember the name of it. It's it looks like it's kind of a chase thing, but I don't think it actually is. I can't remember. There's one that got released last week on DVD that I want to see, but getting close. We're in July, so just a few months till Halloween, so the Halloween itch is starting to set in, so probably start watching a lot of horror stuff.
Yeah, Ash vs. Evil Dead trailer looked awesome, too.
Yeah, it did.
I'm talking about that, but anyway, getting off the horror and back to the pulls. I have whittled my pull list down to a fine balance, and now I've got where I can add some things and take away some things, and I've been kind of in the process of doing that. But like almost every book I get, I really feel super excited for now, and that's a great feeling, you know. But going through what I've had since we've been gone, first of all, I got caught up on Bitch Planet. I got the first 4 issues and was able to really sink my teeth into that. Of course, I talked earlier, I got Kelly Sue to sign it, but whoa, that shit is good. It's like Blade Runner meets Orange is the New Black is the best way I could describe it. Or maybe The Running Man. But it's fucking amazing. Like, it just, a lot of hardcore violence and some real crazy characters and just balls to the wall. It's really good. Flash, Ben Diddy's really hitting his stride on this Flash. And Van Jensen's, you know, he's an admirable follow-up. He's no Francis Manipal, but he does a pretty good job. And Professor Zoom has debuted. Now, we saw the New 52's version of the Reverse Flash way back in the early issues when it was still being written by Manipal and Buccellato. And it was Daniel West, Iris's older brother. Not Eobard as we know him. I happen to think that's probably the Eobard that we know.
That's the impression I got.
Take a look at him, yellow suit, red eyes, like classic Reverse Flash look. But looks like they're in this continuity now. They're separating the two. Reverse Flash would have been Iris's brother, the other villain. This is Professor Zoom, who we normally know as the Reverse Flash. Very good issue. Very strong
I like
issue.
it a lot.
Flash still moving forward, hot and heavy. Sons of Anarchy finally finished off that big arc where Bobby Munson's nephew ripped off the Mayans and blamed it on the Suns, and there was all kinds of trouble, and let's just say his trouble came to an end in this issue. Darth Vader number 7 was fucking kick ass.
Yeah, really good.
Huge revelation at the end of that good old Dr. Aphra, who has been it's sort of Vader's sidekick in these recent adventures, may have it in for him, actually, and may be up to no good and trying to double-cross Vader, and, well, that sounds like a wonderful fucking plan.
And that brings up another mini Comic-Con spoiler that just got to say, since we're on the subject of Vader. I saw that Kieran Gillen and Jason Aaron are going to co-write a Darth Vader miniseries outside of the Vader book, and it looks like, based on everything they've said so far, it appears as if the gimmick on it is going to be, I saw a mouse or something.
There it is.
It's moving. Do you mind that guy?
I need to let fucking my cat in here.
Yeah.
The perils of recording in a garage, folks.
Yeah, but it's okay. I'll be watching. But they're going to be co-writing it, and apparently it's called like something down. It looks like it's going to be like how Vader gets back to like the Empire, like at the end of New Hope, when he crash lands, like how the fuck he gets back, like him fighting through some rebels and stuff to like get back to the Emperor. So that is something that I am interested in.
I don't think anybody's touched on that little period of time yet that I can think of.
No, this is the closest in these books of like what happened after New Hope, but it's obviously a little bit after. Like this is directly after ship goes down. What does he do? I'm sure maybe one of the 1 million books might have touched on it, but those don't count anymore, so fuck them. Sorry, people.
Very
the precious
true.
Collection of 65 Star Wars stories or Elseworld stories.
So we had Cullen Bunn's debut in Aquaman, and it was just in the too early to tell category. It was decent, like it seemed like it could have legs and was like setting up a decent foundation for what could be a cool story, which is totally like he's separated from Atlantis and now a man on his own and all this other shit. But I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical about Mr. Bunn, so I'll give him the first arc to see if it's going to be good before I drop it. Semi-pick of the week. My next to pick of the week. Honorable mention goes to Southern Bastards number 9.
It's the next to pick of the week.
And that book just continues to be amazing. Here we kind of get to see the backstory of the local police officer who has been somewhat of a background character, but you knew there was more to him, especially his relationship with Coach Boss. You find out what that's all about, and as it seems with everybody in Carl County, Alabama, he's got some blood on his hands too.
Exactly, yeah. And we didn't mention it with the Southern Bastards TV.
Yes, Southern Bastards, congratulations to Jason Aaron and Jason Latour, two great dudes.
They're co-writing the pilot, so that's awesome.
Yes, Southern Bastards got picked up by FX for a TV show. That's huge.
Taking that Sons of Anarchy, that thirst that you have to see something like that on FX, and I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so it was amazing, and Southern Bastards is fucking amazing, and it continues to be. They're almost 2 trades in now.
Yeah, I saw the first hardcover was announced. It's going to be one of those I'm gonna double buy because I got all these books. Well, I really like to reread. I have gone back to some single issues and read stuff, but I generally like to reread through the trade. So I'm waiting on that first Southern Bastard hardcover comes out. I think in September. It's going to have like the first 9 or 10 issues.
Yeah, I'll probably check that out at that point. That way I don't have to get a huge
investment. Stack, yeah.
Yeah, my deal, I buy them single, collect them. When the time is right, I usually sell the single collection so I can have the money to buy. Then I have the hardcovers to read.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. But moving on to my pick of the week, Walking Dead 144. Holy fucking shit!
Yeah, it was crazy. It was one of those, Kirkman always does it, like things are going along, and then he punches you in the dick. And this right here, my friend, was a bazooka to the dick.
Yeah. Dude, it was like, because it's not like things have been all peachy keen in The Walking Dead. Like, shit's been kind of crazy. Like, Gregory tried to fucking poison Maggie, so she hung that motherfucker.
So much murder.
And, like, there's still the whole thing with Negan and, like, what they're still keeping him in a cell, so it's like, he's up to no good. I kind of think we might end up seeing Negan, like, reluctantly have to team with Rick, and he's probably going to fucking screw him over.
Yeah, and maybe Negan has the ultimate turnaround and ends up dying a hero. But yeah, I think it's going to happen. Like, it's very possible based on what happened this issue if Rick just goes mad and is like, there's only one person who understands, like, violence at this level, and it's Negan. I've got him locked up.
I can kind of see it going that way, man. That's what I'm really feeling.
And then we'll get the great art Nick and Regan. Yeah, that's right. When they become married, we're gonna have Rick and Negan murder brothers.
So the Whisperers that we've recently seen are they're the people who wear zombie skin to blend in. Are you reading The Walking Dead, Jay?
I'm not a...
Okay, so there's going to be some major spoilers dropped here. But
do you even know who Negan is?
Vague.
Haven't read him.
Vaguely haven't read him.
Okay, well I heard also, how do you read it? Do you read the omnibuses or?
I usually just steal the paperbacks. I've only read like the first few. I haven't.
Okay, well I heard.
I wait for other people to buy it.
And this is a real punch in the dick. The people who buy the big giant compendiums. The issue we just read, I saw Kirkman announce that's the last issue, Compendium 3. So some people are going to have to wait like a year or two until they find out what happens after that.
Well, Carl ran away with the Whisperers because he was chasing after that girl that fucked him.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He
finally got some.
He was all love sick. And so, of course, Rick goes out there running after him, and then we find out that the mother of the Whisperers, the Alpha who leads the group, is just totally fucking batshit crazier than you even expected. Yeah. And that they have the biggest fucking herd of walkers you'd ever fucking imagine, quarantined over in this area, ready to just let them loose. And that they have fucking hundreds of people, if not thousands of people in their army. And, like, they really have, like, they went from this crazy group of nomads who are like, what the fuck is with these people? Mm-hmm. They're like, these people could ruin everything tomorrow. And so she lets Rick go, she lets Carl go, and lets him go back.
But you can see when the conversation starts, she's got a machete that has some blood on it. and Rick says something, and she's like, "Oh, just cleaned up some messes," and you're like, and that's in the back of your mind.
And then she lets Rick go, and as he's going back, he noticed that one of them had blood on their sword already, so he's freaking out because he left Andrea and Michonne and some of the more close people to Rick waiting at this area before they came back. And when he gets back, they see...
Spoiling the characters, it's like ancient Roman style heads on spikes of a dozen or so people.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I caught a glimpse of a few from over here, and it
10,
looks pretty.
11 characters, many of them fairly important characters.
2 pretty big ones.
Heads on fucking spikes, deader than shit.
Yeah, a couple of them, at least one of them, on the TV show as we speak. So it's fucking crazy.
No, I'm sorry, 12. I didn't get the last one. One of my favorite fucking characters.
Yeah.
How could you? You killed the fucking tiger first, and then you got Zeke. You sons of bitches.
Yeah, it's a crazy issue. So, and now, of course, the anticipation for the next one, it's that, like, oh shit, like, what's going to be the response? Like, what's he going to do?
He's going to go let Negan out and say,
exactly.
You gotta fucking get in. It's going to not end well. So that's mine. Nothing could top that Walking Dead. Yeah, still delivering the shots to the balls.
That was fucked. You hadn't got your pull yet. Yeah, and I sent you a text. That was one of those. Doesn't happen a lot in comics, but that was one of those that I immediately text you and was like, "Hey, you got your pulls yet?" And you're like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, then I won't see anything about Walking Dead yet. But stay off the internet."
And I did, and was pleasantly surprised. What do you got, Jay?
Man, I got a whole stack of crap here to mention, I guess. Haven't read Batman 42 yet, but I did get 41. I'm interested to see how this is gonna work out. Apparently, 42's got some pretty good stuff coming up in it. Darth Vader 7 was on my list. Some of the other ones I've been mainstream Marvel guy this past few weeks with all the Secret War stuff going on.
Yeah, for real, you are a Marvel representative.
Apparently, they should pay me. I picked up X-Men 92.
Oh, cool.
And the cover did not let me down on the inside. It was just as cheesy as the cartoon series was from back in the day. I was happy. I'll give you guys a little hint of how it starts, and then I'll leave it there for the listener to pick up. But you start with the X-Men and their training, but they're training in a laser tag place in a mall. And lo and behold, what happens? A Sentinel just bursts through the wall out of nowhere.
I love it.
And so it continues on that sort of vein throughout the rest of the book.
Awesome.
We only had Professor Xavier saying, "We've got to get out of this savage land."
Pretty much. So if you want to throw back, they did I've only read only number 1's come out yet so far, but I'm interested to read it all the way through. I think if they keep up what they did, it's going to be a good nostalgia read, if nothing else.
Hell yeah.
I picked up. I haven't got to read this yet, but it looks cool. Age of Apocalypse #1. It just looks cool. But
Sweet review.
I flipped through it.
I haven't read it yet, but I recommend it.
But it looks cool.
It looks pretty cool. I did get
try it. I mean,
I did read Civil War today. I had to hurry up and read it because I didn't read it last week. I liked it pretty well. I think it was worth picking up.
I'm interested to see what the deal is with the Secret War, Civil War. It's like, are they going to retell the story and change something, or is it picking up where Civil War ended, or what?
Or is it a secret Civil War?
It seems to be
it's a civil secret war.
It seemed I haven't actually read the whole first Civil War, but I got the impression that it was coming in after that.
Okay.
Because at the beginning they're trying to get I won't spoil it too much. Trying to get Cap and Iron Man. At that point they're in charge of their own territories and trying to get them to sit down and try to end this huge
war. No. It was listen. Then it sounds like they're writing a new ending.
Is it a new ending?
Yeah. Okay. In the original one, Cap wouldn't be around to
gotcha.
do that.
Okay. But it was a good read. I think they came out of the gate on it. So I don't know. I guess I'll hear from you guys how it compares to the other ending later on. But
Yeah, I definitely want to check.
But yeah, I mean, not having read the first one, I thought it did a good job of at least starting and picking up in a good place where you're not reading it going, "Fuck is what's happening here?"
Cool.
And there was a lot of background things, I guess, that might change compared to the other one. But I definitely I would pick it up for sure. I thought it was a good read. And then I've got kind of a tie for pick of the week. I've got Secret Wars number 4, and I've got Old Man Logan number 2. And it was a tough pick. I can't quite figure out which one was the better of the two. I guess they both stand pretty well on their own rights. Just to give you kind of a where we're at in it. In the Old Man Logan number 2, at the end of number 1, he's climbing one of the barriers that separates the separate domains of Battleworld. Well, this picks up right when he gets to the top of it. And lucky for him, a Thor shows up and he gets electrocuted, falls into the other side. And the first thing he confronts is Sabretooth, who is a horseman of the apocalypse, apparently. And so they're about to go at it. And then the X-Men show up. And he freaks out because in the original Old Man Logan, his whole thing was he killed them all.
Yeah.
So he freaks the hell out. He passes out. I don't know if I've ever heard of Wolverine passing out from anything, but he passes out, wakes up. He kind of gets interviewed, we'll say, by Emma Frost to find out, like, what the hell is this? She looks just like our Logan, because apparently there's a Logan there, too. And then apparently Magneto is head of the X-Men at that point. And then I'm not going to give away the end of the book, but the last page is great. And you go, holy fuck, this is about to get really good really fast. So
Awesome.
I'm thinking, it's Bendis, so usually everything he touches turns to gold just about. So, I don't know. It was good.
That's one of the few of the all-new, all-different Marvel, which is really a lot of, like, the preview of that was just the, like, I don't know if this is for me, Marvel, because other than Iron Man, nobody's got a book. Bruce Banner doesn't have a book. Thor is still playing second fiddle to other Thor. Fucking Cap is just...
It's geriatric.
It's old man Cap, old man Hawkeye. Like, for some reason, all the old characters are old all of a sudden, so Hawkeye's the old version of him. Which we do that with one person, cool, we do it with everybody. It's like, whatever. And I picked up Iron Man, because, like, then this Iron
Fucking
Man...
Boca Avengers.
Swelling
their ranks.
The ranks are swelling. Iron Man, I was like, this one might be the one. And I immediately saw it's fucking double shipped the first month with a $5 number 1. And I'm like, it's not too late to take it off. Like, I don't know. I just don't know about... Because what happens with the business double ship is you get about 3 issues with the artist, and then you get fill-ins like every other issue for the rest of the run. I can't handle it.
Yeah, I don't... Well, when that happens, I'm real big on, like, the look of a book when I read it, and it drives me nuts when they have fill-in artists because it breaks the fourth wall or so. I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
it really takes you out of
out
the moment, especially if it's in the middle of an arc.
And you're reading a trade, and all of a sudden issue 5, and sometimes the people draw so different. Like, sometimes they do a good job. Like, I know, like, in Hawkeye, when they had fill-in artists, like, for Hawkeye, like, that would be, like, before when Fraction was doing it, it was really similar art. But, yeah, it's the most bogus when you're, like, reading, you're like, oh, it's like, they got, like, a cartoonist on this one, and it's part 4 of this 5-part story. You're killing me. Although, that was good news that on that Old Man Logan, Andrea Sorrentino's staying on there. Lemire's writing it, which might be my favorite Lemire Animal Man mainstream work was his
Green Arrow was so good, yeah.
So they're teaming back up with some Old Man Logan, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it should be good, I think. And then my tie for pick of the week was the Secret Wars number 4. Flip my page on my notes here, Russell. You guys know what I'm doing. Yeah. This one, I think I liked it for the most part because we get a whole lot more of the backstory as far as how the hell did Doom become god of Battleworld? How did this Battleworld come together? And so it's actually it's told through the idea or through Doctor Strange, kind of because he was there too, how it transpired. But you get a lot of that fill-in stuff. They end up running into some of the characters that managed to flee the destruction of the multiverse. One of those characters being Thanos, and one of them being Cyclops, and a few other guys. But the really reason I mention them is there's this great dialogue in the middle, between Thanos and Cyclops and Doom. And Thanos kind of calls Doom out, and he's like, there's a lot of people that think they're God, but few that are willing to say it. And there's just this panel of Doom that goes, I am God. Well, Cyclops gives this big, long speech about, like, no, you're not. You suck. We're mutants, and we're going to take this over. And you think that he gets the upper hand on Doom. And then Doom is like, nope. And you just get this great panel. I'm going to spoil it for you guys. This great panel where it's Doom's hand, Cyclops' neck and head, and it just crack across it. So he just totally lays Cyclops out. He's like, I told you. But it was really good, and that whole dialogue there with Thanos and Cyclops and Doom is worth reading. Like, I read it twice; it was so good, and I normally don't do that.
Spoilers: it's going to turn out that fucking Doom took all the Infinity Stones and put them up his ass.
Yeah.
And now that's why he's so powerful.
Can you feel the power?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they might have, because they haven't went in. They go into, I guess, the backstory of how Doom and Strange were there from the beginning of this, but they don't really tell how Doom went about it, other than to say that they do tell you who was responsible for the end of the multiverse, in that, and apparently, well, I'll let everybody read it. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was a tie with Old Man Logan for Pick of the Week, so they're both great books. I would definitely recommend you read both of those for sure.
Awesome.
Well, that's badass. Well, next week, for the first time in months, I got no pulls. I think it's the first time in 2015 that somehow, with my 20-something books, none of them come out next Wednesday.
What are you going to do on Wednesday?
I'm going to be in Wyoming. Actually, on Wednesday, I'm going to be, I'll be buying something. It won't be new books, but I'm going to be at fucking, what's it called? The biggest fucking comic book shop in the country.
Oh, Mile High Comics?
I'm going to be at Mile High Comics on Wednesday.
Sweet.
So I'm just going to be staring at all their shit. And I'm going to buy something. So I'll buy some sort of comic-related stuff. But I'll be in Denver then. Pull the smoochie on the run. Getting my books.
This has been a production of the Potty Humor Network. Find us online at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe to us weekly and never miss an episode by searching Potty Humor on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you for listening, and good night.